everyone, welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I have a special group of guests with us today. There's a new horror con coming out in Waterloo, Ontario, September 14th, and it's called DreadCon. Yeah. First, I have with us Michelle Rivers. She is the founder and the creator. Michelle, welcome to the Horror Room.
Hello, nice to be here.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And then also I have with us Kate DeJonji, who actually contacted me, and she's actually holds the marketing. Kate, welcome to the Horror Room.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. And finally, I have two authors who will be attending DreadCon. I have with us Rick Hipson and Tobin Elliott. Rick, Tobin, welcome to the Horror Room.
Hey, thank you. Great to
Glad to be here. I feel like I'm on the Brady Bunch.
So Michelle, I'm going to start off with you. Tell us a little bit about DreadCon.
So DreadCon is going to be a dark fiction horror convention that brings our horror lovers and our dark fiction readers, like dark fantasy readers, right into the author's world, essentially. Like, we're going to have panels that guests can attend, readings by the authors, as well as just a big book fair and market where people can do get author-signed books, meet different publishers, because we've got some Canadian publishers going to be there as well. So it's going to just think of it just like as a big convention, but just a little bit smaller format for the one day.
Love it. Now, what gave you the idea to decide to start, a kind of like a horror con for authors in Canada?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Well, I own Erie River Publishing, so I publish horror and dark fiction for authors. So I'm already in that world. And this wasn't just a leap of faith or something like that. Over the last few years, I've transitioned some of my role for Erie River to actually host book fairs and markets as well. So I host about a dozen book fairs around the region, or multiple regions in Ontario. And while I was doing that, I was seeing so many people kind of coming and looking specifically for the horror and seeing some successes elsewhere. I was like, this would be a great idea to do something that is accessible to Canadians, because as a Canadian, because I had been to StokerCon, going over there, shipping all of my books, trying to access that horror community was really hard. So I thought it would be great to finally have something that's kind of homegrown, so that we can, because the horror realm and the dark fiction realm in Canada is so vibrant, but we don't really have that opportunity to really connect with it in a reasonable or feasible way. So being able to do this just felt like the next step evolutionary with like book fairs.
And I agree. I've interviewed so many indie horror authors and even filmmakers. Like, Canada is booming right now when it comes to horror. And there's not that many conventions or events to focus on that.
Exactly. Even the events that are there, let's say Fan Expo, that's a huge one. They have a Horror Alley, but it's so small. But not only that, the ability to get in there is ridiculous. The cost of it alone really just nicks out all of our small publishers, small indie authors. So to have something where it's financially accessible to people that we can bring in and hopefully start building this community closer to home, where everyone can access it, would I think is great. That's what I want to do.
Love it. Now I'm going to show it to Kate. Kate, you're doing a lot of the assisting Michelle with organizing, marketing, contacting podcasters and YouTubers like myself.
Yep.
Now, there's a lot of individuals out there who are thinking about starting their own con. What are some advice you can give them
To starting their own con?
Yes, with regards to marketing and so forth.
I'm finding, first of all, when you're reaching out to podcasters like yourself, don't stick to your own region, because I'm sure you have listeners all around the world. So don't worry about sticking to one spot close to home. Looking for, my current mission is looking for sponsors and swag bag goodies and things like that. So looking at other conventions that are similar to the one that you're trying to put together and looking at who's sponsoring them. That is one suggestion. And also reaching into your community. So I'm also an author. I'm part of the Books of Horror on Facebook, where most of us are very familiar with each other.
Yeah.
So even posting on your own social media, asking who's interested, you find out more about who's in your region that way, I find, than trying to do Google searches. But the capital point is having someone like Michelle who's willing to jumpstart the whole thing and put all of this together. So if you're an idea person and you need some doers, absolutely find your little army of people like me. I'm Michelle's marketing monster. That's my official title.
It is an official title.
But absolutely, especially with horror, don't be afraid to reach out to indie authors. All of us want to talk about our work with anyone who will listen, really.
Yep. And like you said, too, like when it comes to indie authors, you know, there's not that huge resources or budget for advertising and marketing. So to have cons like this definitely help.
Yes, absolutely. This is, like Michelle said, there have been so many great cons on your side of the border down in the States where these huge gatherings of indie authors are sometimes meeting for the first time. A lot of them have chatted online, but the generation of readers coming through for indie horror right now is massive.
Yeah.
So having something like this, anywhere you put something like this, we're going to have a great turnout. It's something that the population wants right now.
I'm going to ask this question to Tobin.
Sure.
Actually, I'm going to ask everybody this question. It's going to be a roundtable question. Right now, I mean, there's a huge influx of indie horror writers. I mean, you know, it's a lot easier for individuals to get their work out, whether it be through small publications, presses, or even self-publishing. What are some things that helps a indie author stand out?
Well, for me, the things that have helped me, a good product, number one. It's seriously, and I say that jokingly, but it's true. That starts with a fantastic cover that pulls somebody in. I have been at signings and had somebody kind of see the covers and come across the room to check it out. So that's always a draw. But there shouldn't be a disappointment once they open up that book and start reading. So, no, seriously, like a well-written, well-edited book that obviously has a great story too helps. Beyond that, though, is an author, and this is probably the hardest thing that I've seen talking to other indie authors like myself, is putting yourself out there. Writers tend to be introverts a lot of the time. They like writing because they're alone when they do it, but then you have to go out and actually talk to people about it, and that's one of the reasons I'm really grateful for DreadCon. I get to go out and talk to people and meet new people. So there's that aspect of it, and you don't have to get comfortable with it, but you have to get yourself right with the fact that if you want to actually get readers, you have to go out to them, whether it's through social media or face-to-face or however. That's my quick answer anyways, but I'll let the other guys talk too.
I will say something, what you said, like as someone who's going to a lot of horror conventions and buys a lot of indie books, the authors who, you know, hey, come over here, let me talk to you. Those are always the ones I wind up buying from.
Yeah.
The ones who unfortunately sit there and play on the phone, or they're just like not engaging with the audience. No one ever stops by their table.
Yeah, I can say that for someone that does a lot of book fairs. The tables that get, yes, there's certain things that will make you stand out every time. a pretty looking table, something that looks organized. Your book covers are on spot on. Maybe you have a drape or something, or like one of those stands in the back so that's just eye-catching. So visually, if you are out in the public, people are like, oh, I see you. But yeah, if you are someone that is not engaged or not there to present yourself in a way that you're like, hey, I want to talk to you about my book, readers aren't going to just, most readers aren't going to just approach you a lot of the time. There are some that don't want to talk to you whatsoever. They're also the ones that they're like, I don't like people, I like books. And they do that. But then there's also the people that are there for the authors. They want that one-on-one connection. They're at these events because they're exciting. They want you to sign their book. They want it to be personalized. They want to follow you on social media. So the only way to stand out, or at least my suggestion for standing out, is make sure that you're present. You're present at your events, you're present on social media, and you're presenting yourself in a way that is professional.
Absolutely.
And Rick?
Right. Sure. Well, I think that with those two guys giving some fantastic advice, it's a bit of a tough act to follow. So I'm going to respond. Like, I've been reviewing books for, I don't know, about 20 years or so, but I'm pretty new at being on this side of the table, which is, of course, as a new author. So I'll speak from that perspective. And I think certainly to the effect of having a great product that people are going to want to read and think, this guy's worth my money. I wasn't sure about that person, but now I'm sold. I can't wait for the next book. I think it's super important as a means to that end is to have either a great publisher, or if you're self-publishing, to make sure that you're at least hiring a great editor and a great team of people behind that book. Of course, a great book cover artist for the reasons that Tobin mentioned, so that nobody knows about you, nobody knows about your product if you're just starting out. So you want something that's going to sort of grab them and have them gravitate to your table. And I think also it's super important, and I certainly see that now with either having a great editor that you've hired or having a great publisher that, I guess, inadvertently hired you or at least published your book, is that you want to make sure that you can learn from that. Because I would think you want to keep getting better and better. It would hate for example, my book, it's the first one out there. I had a great team. And maybe I didn't learn anything from it. And people are going to read this and think, yeah, this is pretty good. They'll try something else. It wasn't as good. And that's it. I'm basically dead to them at that point. There's so much other great work out there. So I think you want to also make sure that your first initial experiences as an author, whether it's self-published or through a publisher, is that it's in a way that you can learn from. So if learn from that editor, ask lots of questions, try not to make the same mistakes again. And otherwise, I think when it comes to marketing, just think outside of the box. Have fun with it. I've because of time, I haven't actually executed this yet, but in the planning stages, for example, I've taken pictures of my reviewer's guide in various places, because the point I want to get across is that it's very accessible no matter what part of the journey you're at, or literally wherever you are, you could read this and hopefully learn from it. So I'm going to have fun, take pictures of my book in various places, doing various things, all PG friendly, so I can post it on social media. And I think that's really important. That's some advice that I've gathered from going to some of these conventions, where we can learn from other authors, as well as just the marketing and how do you stand out from the crowd with that. It's a great time to have fun with that product once that product is available. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
The one thing I hear from a lot of new indie authors is regarding editing. They said that it's expensive to edit, so it's hard. Are there any resources that indie authors can use to get editing at a low price?
Like, you pay for what you get.
I was going to say, I hesitate to say low price because, yeah.
Like, even as a publisher, we've learned the hard way that you pay for what you get. So it's not even a problem, but the reality is your authorhood is a business.
It is.
And if you are presenting yourself as a business, like, you have to put money into it, and it sucks. Because money right now is so hard to come by. And not only that, but, like, let's be honest, selling a book gives me pennies or dollars if it's like a full paperback. So it's not like we're making thousands of dollars off of every time someone buys a book off of us. Yeah. So it's hard work, hard earned money, and there are unfortunately no corners to be cut. Now you can ask other author friends to read, help do developmental edits, help go through line editing, but in the reality is most of them aren't probably going to catch what a real editor will.
Because we've all...
I will say, honestly, I tested this. The editor I used, who was phenomenal, I had literally sent her a couple of pages because I was taking a book and republishing it. And I mean, that thing had been through so many pairs of eyes. And she did a 5-page edit for free just to test. Yeah. And I'm like, you are not going to find anything. You are not. Oh my God, was I wrong? So, and on that, and the edits that she gave me back, it's like, you are hired for the 6-book series, and she made it so much better, So, they're worth it.
So, I mean, we've all have read a book that hasn't been edited.
Yes.
God, yes, we have. Yes, we have.
And it's just whether or not you're one of those people where it really bothers you or it doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
When you're in the indie world, if you see something traditionally published and it's edited like garbage, you're like, whoa, I'm never reading from this again. Mm-hmm. But I think indie world, especially indie horror, gives a lot of lacks.
Yeah, we're a supportive bunch.
For some.
Yeah.
There is it's maybe controversial. It is not really AI. There's a free version of Grammarly.
Yeah.
That you can run your script through just for typos and punctuation. At the very least, if you're indie and just starting out and can't afford an editor, at least run it through that. It's a second pair of eyes that will catch those basic things, but it doesn't change your writing. It doesn't give you any hints like that. It's just the punctuation and typos.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's tough too for, it's definitely the kind of thing that you could get a little bit of good information from various self-help books, but I think a lot of it's different to put it into practice. I think it's a lot like reading the tale of Jeet Kune Do from Bruce Lee, and then you're doesn't mean you're going to be a kung fu master by the end of it, although you might have a better understanding of it. Yeah. And I know if I can give one plug to a book for self-editing, I know I saw it commit a little while ago, is I don't know if anybody's familiar with Lindsay Smith, but she just published not too long ago a book. I think it's just called How to Self-Publish. But the thing I liked about that, and what I would certainly look out for in others how to self-edit books, is that she does mention in there that there are shortcomings to any kind of self-editing book, that it's there to help you compete in the race, but it's not necessarily going to help you win the race like an actual editor that you would hire would, and to be aware of that. And she does also mention that, of course, you can also hire her services out on top of the book, and I think that's important as well, is that if you're going to look at those kind of books, to maybe look at it as a singular tool as opposed to the entire toolbox that you need. Mm-hmm. At least that's the way I've always sort of looked at it.
Writing is a skill, editing is a separate skill.
Yeah, right. Completely.
That's what it comes down to for me.
Now, right now, so WonderCon is September 14th.
Yes.
Are tickets on sale? How can we purchase tickets in advance?
Yeah, so tickets are on sale. University students and all children, so 18 and under, are free. So if you come to the door with your university ID, you get in for free. 18 years and older will be $5. So we're not breaking the bank or anything like that. We do have some swag bags that are going to be available first 25 through the door. So it's going to be a lot of fun like that. But yeah, so tickets, it's dreadconcan.com.
And are there any spots for vendors still?
We do have a few spots for vendors available, yeah. So if you are a whorish
Hold on now.
I apologize.
Please don't edit that out. Don't edit that out.
But if you're like a dark fiction or fantasy horror adjacent vendor, I will say dark romance probably would fit into this very nicely. But
would that fit under the horror?
Exactly. We have some spots still available for some like crafty vendors too. So if you're someone that does oddity, Halloweeny kind of things, we do have spots for those too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Listen, all right. I'm gonna shoot. I'm gonna start off with Tobin. Where can everyone find you?
Everywhere. So my books are everywhere. So not just Amazon, but they are in Indigo in Canada, Barnes and Nobles in the States, Waterstones. They're everywhere. And for me personally, you can find me on Instagram. The biggest one is Instagram, Threads. I'm on Blue Sky occasionally, and I am on Facebook occasionally, mostly Instagram. I do have a link tree in all of my profiles that will link you to my books, to podcast interviews that I've done, to my social media, to everything.
Awesome. Rick?
Sure, thanks. So when it comes to my podcast, and of course all my contact information is listed in the profile, you can find me at darkbites.ca as well, and I've actually chatted with a few different authors and publishers on there too, so if you're looking to get tips or just want to kind of figure out how your favorite horror creations are actually created, it's a great spot for that. You can also find me on Facebook through my name, which is listed down here, Rick Hipson, just to keep it simple. Because of my podcast, you can find me on Twitter, I think, as well as Instagram and TikTok, although I don't know what I'm doing with TikTok. It's at Dark Bites blog. By all means, if you guys are using that stuff, tag me in it and tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'll be happy to get some tips from you. And yeah, it's the best place. Of course, you can also go to Amazon.com or .ca and also plug my name in, and that'll connect you with a couple of the nonfiction books that I have, such as the Reviewer's Guide, as well as a collection of interviews and reviews I did a few years ago that I'm currently coming up with another edition. And yeah, that's the best way to find me in those few venues.
Kate?
My books are available on my own website, katedeyoung.com, on Amazon and on Goodreads. And I'm usually on Threads. I find that the nicest place to be on socials these days.
Lately, yes.
Yeah, sometimes Facebook, not really on Insta. And I do not have a TikTok because, I have a TikTok with like 100 followers. I've never posted a video, so I don't know what that's all about. And then I'm also very active on grimoireofhorror.com. I am an accredited movie reviewer. So all of my articles and interviews go on grimoireofhorror.com. You can find me on the staff page there under my name.
And Michelle?
Okay, so I've got a couple. So for DreadCon specifically, we are on Instagram as dread_con. At Facebook, I believe, I'm trying to see how it got. When you try to do something, you're not sure if it actually worked. You can just look up DreadCon. I think it's DreadCon Can or DreadCon Canada.
I think if you search DreadCon Canada, you'll find it there.
Yeah. Our website is dreadconcan.com. And that is where you can find our list of vendors. You can apply as a vendor. You can apply as a sponsor. And you can also see kind of our list of panels and stuff. We're going to be posted pretty soon, too. And then for Erie River, I'm at Erie River everywhere. So Instagram, no, not Instagram. Everywhere but Instagram. But at Erie River at Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, I'm Erie_River. Because that was
Listen, everybody, get over to DreadCon September 14th in Waterloo, Ontario. And by the way, I'm going to reach out to each and every one of you. I would like to have you each on for a separate interview.
Absolutely.
This was
love that. Love that.
Absolutely fun. All right, so please support them. Please support indie horror authors. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. And this is the DreadCon crew.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor.